Thanks for watching, ladies and gentlemen. You're watching Nile TV International, and that's the daily debate live from Cairo. First of all, Merry Christmas to all our viewers. It's Christmas Eve for all those celebrating Christmas throughout the whole world. Merry Christmas to all of you. Tonight on the daily debate, we'll be talking about a very interesting issue, which is mainly we're talking about youth. When we talk about youth, we're talking about energy. We're talking about the future. We're talking about a sense of enthusiasm to change the country, to build Egypt for the better. That is what we are going to talk on the daily debate for tonight. The youth, who are the cornerstone of Egypt's development. The President, on more than one occasion, President Sisi had announced a global initiative to invest in the youth. Hopefully working for this important project and also for New Prospects initiative, which is a declaration to member states to uphold the responsibility on how to empower people and how to empower the societies. And the initiative is mainly focusing on support in the various domains, including youth employment, including training programs, culture and education. And tonight it's really a pleasure to have with me one of the professors engaged in this important initiative for training the youth. I have with me Professor Dr. Ahmed Mehna, Professor of Political Economy. Thank you very much, Professor Mehna, for coming. And also two representatives of the youth who are engaged in such program, investing in the youth, youth for leadership, youth for development in Egypt. They are the bright future for the country. The representatives are Nahla Khalid, one of the student representatives. Thank you, Nahla, for coming.
Thank you.
And also I have with me Bassem Said. Thank you, Bassem.
My pleasure.
It's always a pleasure to have you all here. Let's watch this report, and we'll be back to discuss the initiative and discuss more about the youth, discuss more about the presidential leadership program. It's very important to engage the youth in decision making so that they would feel self-confident. Yes, we do need definitely the advice of the seniors and their sense of support, but we also need the energy of the youth. So this is what we will be discussing for tonight on the Daily Debate. Don't go away.
Giant national projects for the country development and providing job opportunities for youth, where he has launched the project of developing East Port Said region, pointing out to the necessity of work accomplishment in 2 years only instead of 3, where he assured that such projects may take from 10 to 15 years to be executed. President Sisi project was studied carefully, noting that the Suez Canal Corridor Development Decree was issued in 2002, 13 years ago. In other words, such projects should have been commenced since 13 years. The President declared that the Suez Canal Corridor Development Projects is a pure Egyptian work, hinting that all employees in the project are Egyptians working in civil companies, and also all are trained on new equipment. Sisi has witnessed the launching of this project and the commencement of a giant maritime port in the region. This in addition to an industrial region and another logistic, third residential and fourth for fish wealth plantation, also a region for South Port Said region to link East and West Egypt, promoting development and investment by Egyptian efforts and money, and supporting states, entities and the armed forces. The project of East Port Said comes within the framework of developing Suez Canal region from a comprehensive perspective of development in Egypt, without any prevention of new foreign investments capable of refreshing Egyptian economy and pumping currency during the current period. The giant maritime port consists of 4 main elements. They are berth on both sides, amongst which a navigational channel in the middle and the berth westwards and others eastwards of a total of 10 kilometers. The first stage of total 5 kilometers. Its western berth of length kilometers wide, 450 meters, eastern berth of 3 kilometer and width of 500 meters, and water channel of 3 kilometer length and 500 meters wide and drought 18.5. This in addition to a circular round at the middle between the two berths and along the water channel of diameter 950 meters. Every region of the area of 4 million square meters and work there will start on an area of 16 million meter. In addition, there is a model for a factory, administrative sites, and a hotel for coming investors and factory owners' residents, and will be accomplished in the first half of 2016. The project also includes the establishment of a developed logistics zone, including administrative and service establishments and required warehouses, whether for birth or industrial regions. This again in addition to a plan for establishing a residential zone of area 4 meter of a sum of 10,000 residential units, sufficient for 50,000 citizens, to be increased afterwards. Finally, the last project to be commenced, as President Sisi ordered, is the strategic tunnels group passing beneath the Suez Canal, pointing out that the equipment purchased by the armed forces will execute these tunnels on time to connect these developments with new urbanization communities.
As you've seen, Professor Mehana, the report highlighted East Port Said project and many other projects, not only the East Port Said, but we remember also the conference at Sharm el-Sheikh, the economic conference. The youth were there, and definitely we are pinning high hopes on the youth also to engage in other projects like this one, the East Port Said project. How do you see their engagement in those huge projects, and how will this really reflect on their sense of self-confidence and also belonging to the country?
I think President Sisi, since the being in office, he realized the power and the understanding and the passion of youth to be engaged in mega projects. And in total, we're talking about 24 projects, and President Sisi always stresses on engaging youth since the beginning of the presidential election. And I think that the problem that we had before is the marginalization of youth and not trying to understand and create that cultural bridge between the different generations in Egypt. And almost every 2 weeks he organizes sessions with the youth from universities, and this basically reflects his understanding of the new generations, trying to engage them. The difficulty that youth faces really at this time is the ability to get involved in mega projects and be really active. And one of the programs that were offered by the presidency is basically qualifying 10,000 youth in addition to what's happening now, the youth leadership program, and it's already accepting people with the age 20 to 30 years of age. And in addition to that is the cultural awareness in terms of political and security cultural awareness that we trying to do now. So the difficult situation that really the country's in now is trying to get the youth on the same page and get them involved. But I think few steps have been taken in the past few months, and I think they're very, very useful to get the youth involved. He believes in them, and I think this is really a great even the youth because they have really all qualifications that Egypt needs in the next few years to get on the right page in the 21st century.
Definitely, and this sense of belief, do you feel this sense of belief? I mean, even at the university, you find yourself, engaged with projects on solid grounds. How professors do engage you, and how do you feel the country and the state is working on engaging the youth today?
Well, my professors do engage me with projects about wars, first and second, third, fourth generations, and about their concept. The fourth advanced and the fifth generation are critical, of course, for such items. Which are essentially related to most of the projects. Sixth generation wars, which is about information. It's the main point, or which is the most critical point, because it is a war of information.
Yeah.
Its general basics and the principles are such as inequality and not a fair opportunity among all youth to have. Many people participate and tend to adapt to such situations and also try to engage with such projects.
Right. Well, Nahla Bassem was talking about the war of information and how to prepare the youth in order to deal with such challenge. And he said that the professors at the university are engaging the youth in order to deal with that dimension. How do you find this useful, and in what way are you being engaged?
Well, in our universities, they try to let us get engaged in such activities through our projects that try to feel us to make us feel that we're secure in our country. That we don't have the idea that we're no longer welcomed or we have to travel abroad to activate in anything. That we have an opportunity in our country through a lot of aspects.
Right, that's great, Professor Mohammed. As Nahla was just mentioning, this enhances also the sense of belonging. How are you as a professor and as university staff dealing with that? I guess it is a very important aspect. She's talking about the students feeling that, yes, they do have a future here.
Absolutely. This is one of the problems that the youth experience in the past 2-3 decades, that they never really felt they are part of the nation to be developed. And I think this is the approach that President Sisi is taking in the past 2 years.
How to optimize.
Absolutely, optimize and how to utilize the resources, because we're talking about 65% of the population youth. We're talking about, in their age, between 19 and 32, we're talking about over 30 million people, and that's 30% of the population. And I think President Sisi is trying to utilize that to be able to build a strong country where we need land, labor and capital, and we have that basically at our fingertips. So what we need at this point is the cultural awareness to be raised, correction in the history, because part of our history is being modified by the West, trying to describe our countries in a very negative way, where we basically through the different sessions and through the different programs with the help of the Ministry of Culture, the Presidency organization, as well as the Ministry of Youth and the different universities, in addition to the State Information Services, organizing these sessions to basically create that sense of own developing themselves. We do acknowledge that there is problems, whether economic, security or political problems, but in the end
but still there is a sense of belonging, and there is a determination to make Egypt better.
Absolutely, and youth started to feel that, and we've seen that in different where they are being called upon to participate. So definitely we're going to have a better future with the participation of youth.
Definitely. Bassem, how is the youth participation making a difference? And in what way is the sense of belonging enhanced by your sharing? How do you feel it?
The youth participation is critical, and as you mentioned before, it's one of the main basics of community.
Right.
By participating of the youth, they are able to get solution or solutions of problems out of the box that traditional old people hasn't been aware of that. Also by the participation of youth.
New blood, energy,
yes.
driving force. Yeah.
Yes, their driving force.
Right. And Nahla, he's talking about, Bassem is talking about ideas out of the box, and we usually hear this term, do you engage in ideas out of the box while you youth are quite capable of doing so through, learning by distance, through exchanging expertise with other youth, and also telecommuting at university? Tell me more about this experience.
We do. We like ideas out of the box, especially in the time being. Actually, in our university, they are trying to exchange so we can, exchange cultures and know better. We have better programs in our university, so we can learn abroad from other cultures, other universities. Also, they try to motivate us to take masters in different degrees to learn better in the future, so we can give better to our country. Since we are motivated that we have opportunities here in the country, not in other places.
Right. So talking about opportunities, Professor Mehna, and both Nahla and Bassem are talking about ideas out of the box.
That's right.
And that is quite interesting, because they feel they have something to add,
yeah.
and they feel also that it is important to listen definitely to seniors' advice and those who are experienced, but still they have something to offer.
Absolutely. A number of universities have started now the new centers for entrepreneurship and small business development, and youth have a lot to offer in terms of ideas. They enjoy the creativity, they enjoy wide knowledge of modern technology, new methods for management, and I think this is what we need to utilize. And we've seen President Sisi over the past 2 years basically engaging with youth, and a few weeks ago announcement of the database that basically becomes a centralized database that includes all the theses, research projects from universities, all will be at the fingertips of the officials in government. And this is basically reflects very important aspect that's used in modern world and in developed countries, basically is the ties between universities and research institutions and the government organizations as well as commercial businesses. So the ties between the two, universities have the expertise and the manpower to make research and can be funded through the commercial organizations and the government. So definitely we will see a lot better initiatives coming out of the box, as Bassem said, definitely, and particularly at universities here we've seen quite a lot coming out, and it's been submitted to the government for development and the implementation of such new ideas. It's definitely great.
Right. Bassem, if I would ask you about like an example of one of those ideas that you're talking about, ideas out of the box, what was that idea, and in what speciality, in what field?
In field of inventions.
Creativity and inventions.
By making advertisement on things that people see all the time, like some young inventor or advertised on metro tickets, that we should advertise on metro tickets, that government will gain much because of such advertisement.
Right. So here is a good idea.
Absolutely.
The metro and the people, like they use the metro daily. So this is a matter of disseminating more info concerning commodities, concerning how the country would gain. Nahla, you have something to add here.
I'd like to talk about the recycling process in Egypt. I think it's an idea outside the box. Like it supports our economy if we are interested, though, in such an activity. That was my graduation project, actually, in my university. So out of the statistics, we learned, we gained information that it's going to help the country move forward if people, especially households, are interested in such activity, separating the waste. And it's a small activity that everyone can indulge in.
That's great, and I'm going to be back to this recycling project issue, because yes, it's out of the box. You see how youth are just thinking out of the box here on Nile TV International on the Daily Debate. We're trying to pop up with new ideas to see how the youth are engaged in Egypt, the future. A short break and we'll be back.
مسكنا الفرصة
Yes, بنكمل حلم بكرة. We are continuing our dream for tomorrow. Definitely the dream is for a better future for the country. Professor Mehna, if we're talking about the right programs that we should engage the youth in, we need to prepare them for the market. We need to provide them with more self-confidence. What would you tell me about this?
At some of the universities, I'm involved in a number of projects where we create centers for research and entrepreneurship and small business development, where we take their graduation projects, as with Nahla and Basim, basically to sell these graduation projects to commercial companies or offer them to the government, where a lot of them come out with inventions basically that can be in the field of machinery, can be in weapons, can be in chemicals, and basically create that link between young inventors, as Basim said, and the government on one side, or the commercial field on the other side. I think what we are working on at this point is the cultural awareness. Young generations, unfortunately, they haven't witnessed really the sacrifices made by our army and our police force and the older generations, talking basically about 56 and 67, 73, up to 79, and started the development and a lot of mega projects like the High Dam, etc. So what we try now is bring that image to them so they can be really fully aware of their own history and build onto that and basically continue and carry basically the flag of Egypt. And this is really what we focus on at this point, because cultural awareness is the first important factor. And Basim has been with me in a number of sessions that we basically doing. Nahla from one of the universities in October been done that, and we go in next week to her university. But Basim has been with me at our university, basically engaging, trying to explain to the youth basically the different types of wars, how basically the fourth and fifth generations of war. And here we're talking about basically explaining the conspiracy on Egypt on one side, and motivating youth to basically get involved in development, because the people that run the conspiracy in Egypt will never leave us, continue on our development plan. So they always try to hammer our youth and mislead them. And this is really what we're trying to work on in two parallel directions. Basically, number one, work on development, qualifying youth, on the same time explaining to them what has been happening around us so they can basically participate with the knowledge.
Right. Basim, as Dr. Mehna was saying, that engaging the youth and raising their sense of awareness is very important. So what did you learn at those symposiums or those seminars, and how is the outcome quite beneficial to you?
The awareness of such items such as sixth generation wars, which is about information wars. Misleading information can be very critical to the situations of the country from the military, political, economical side.
Right.
Like, for example, when we have a theoretical revolution for inequality, and inequality of opportunity, and the division of income is just unfair as per capita income of GDP. The main lines in this revolution is to get such items for the youth as their demands.
We can remember together, moments of honor, the president honoring the youth from different universities. And I guess those were moments that made a difference, really, for the youth themselves,
It's as you were saying, the sense of ownership and belonging to the nation.
And enhancing this sense of belonging to the country. They need to feel that their effort counts, and they need also to feel that they have a future in their nation, right? So Nahla had also a very interesting point that we were talking about earlier concerning the recycling project. Those are the ideas out of the box ideas that Basim was talking about. You talked about the recycling project, and also how to separate waste. Tell me more about your contribution to that, Nahla.
Actually, it started by interviewing households in shopping malls and a sports club about their idea, if they are interested, as seeing the as perceiving if the idea of recycling is beneficial to them. And we found that they are motivated and they're ready to indulge in such activities. We started our graduation project directly about recycling and separating waste. And statistics showed us that it's going to give back a huge support to our economy, and it's going to change our country to the better. And since we felt here that we are welcomed in our country, and we have motivation when we saw the youth are welcomed and they're giving us opportunities, so we felt that we are better in our country than in our.
How do professors help you out, get engaged with sources maybe, or maybe later when the project, is ready to be introduced to the market itself? What was the sense of support, and how about the financing such projects?
They gave us opportunities with different companies, with different political sides. They indulge us in different activities. They enhance our presentation skills. They enhance us how to talk about our project more, how to find opportunities different in our country. They were very supportive, actually, through our experience.
Yeah. She's talking about presentation skills, Dr. Mehna. So presentation skills.
She's got Dr. Yasser Tawfiq is one of the great ones there, and Dr. Saeed Nagy. I think and Russia?
Dr. Russia
Nagar. I think you're absolutely right. Presentation skills, they learn that throughout the graduation projects, and it takes about 6 months to develop that. They do a lot of field surveys and field work, and basically and they come up with ideas. Unfortunately, over the past 2-3 decades, we've got thousands of projects that are lying there on a shelf, and I think with the database that the President announced a few weeks ago, all these documents and research projects will be collected and basically in a central database under the supervision of the Parliament, and be directed to the government organizations as well as commercial companies. But throughout the graduation projects, and in addition to that, throughout the 4 years of the bachelor degree, we basically try to help them to learn more about presentation skills, learning new ways to manage, learning new ways to implement their ideas. And one of the subjects that already been implemented university-wise are the subjects of entrepreneurship and small business development, because we want to reduce reliance on government, we want to reduce reliance on subsidy. We want them to help themselves basically convert their ideas and be entrepreneurs, convert their ideas into projects that can basically create revenues for them and for their families.
Right. Bassem, how about preparing the youth for leadership positions? You're the leadership for tomorrow. So preparing the youth for leadership, what do you think of the project, and how can it help, and what sort of points do we need to work on in the youth future, so that we can garner the fruit later, efficient leadership and strong leaders for the country?
Okay. We start with that the youth has got energy, but the older people has got the right expertise.
Right.
So by trying to find a way to converting this expertise into the youngsters or the youth, people, as in order for them to further help in such positions, or try to replace such people in such positions. The older people, when they retire, after their retirement, they can offer them a small amount of money, or periodical money, as in order to give their entire expertise to the new generation in the same position.
Right.
As in order to give them their entire experience in such position, 4 is yes.
Right. So he's talking about both generations, you know, Nahla, working in parallel together, how the leaders of today should work on and help the leaders of tomorrow by preparing them, by providing them with the sense of advice and more. What do you think youth as leaders need in order to go on the right track?
We need somehow to study outside the box. Like we need professors to focus on our first presentation skills, to enhance our confidence, to share experience with them, experience they learn from the field, from their work places. That's much that we need for our leadership. We don't need to stick to the books and the exams, because some of us actually they memorize and just write in the exam and they didn't learn anything. So I think it's better than we learn in different ways, not only exam-wise.
What is leadership? If I ask you to define leadership, what is leadership in your opinion, Nahla?
Teamwork. All of us working as a team to share experience and to give a better results in the future. That's leadership to me, not one person. It's everyone.
That's great. You know, pinpointing a very important icon, Dr. Mehna, which is working as a team. Yes, we only succeed when we work as a team.
Absolutely.
We only succeed when we feel that each and every effort counts. So how do you prepare them for this sense of teamwork?
Absolutely. It's part of the problem is actually a social culture where sometimes we prefer to work on our own. We've got our own mind, and part of the training basically to qualify them for that. Take a step back and try to look at the bigger picture. Rather be part of a team than being a leader with your own mind, because basically the modern world in the 21st century works on team. There is no stars, basically. So we need to basically look at that. In terms of qualifying the youth, it does take time to get to that sense, basically, because not even all your professors are on the same mindset. And Nahla was talking about a very important
So training
point.
for trainers.
Absolutely, training for trainers, and some of the universities are already doing that, because some of the professors are basically lacking the ability to deliver basically the message. Sometimes the scientific side is very good, but in actual implementation and breaching the gap between the different generations, as Bassem said, it is very important. So I think a lot of development are underway to basically develop the style of teaching, the style of research, because we really backed, we got very backed by the over the past few years in terms of scientific research and the quality of education. So definitely, as individual professors working on that, and definitely the government under the supervision of Mr. President, basically looking at a new development, mega development projects for education, we're basically looking at the teacher, looking at the curriculum, and basically looking at the message that need to be given to students and to youth. What is it that we need from you today, and what is it that we qualify you for tomorrow?
Right. Bassem, how about the programs that you are engaged in? You know, there are cultural programs, there are other programs that would engage the youth in a sense of awareness to know more about the challenges that are facing the country, and which are the programs that you find quite appealing, not only for you, but also for your colleagues?
The programs that give mass communication awareness, or awareness of such points that may affect the general
So mainly, I guess you want to say that those programs that are appealing are those more of mass communication programs, developing communication skills, knowing more about problems and how better engage, Nahla?
Definitely. Programs like MUN, the British Parliament, they are programs that help you indulge in activities that it's similar in the outer world, but it's, it's a bit fake. They indulge you in the debate stuff and the presentation skills. Debate is much important because you support a special topic or an idea and you debate for it with your colleague. So it helps you stick to your point and defend it, actually. That's such programs that we need. It gives us a sense of confidence, actually, in the outer world.
Right. Well, how about girls' participation in those programs? Females, how are they find those programs appealing? Either are they really quite interested, and how about their sharing also in not only in youth development programs but leadership programs?
Yeah.
Well, girls are more interested actually than gentlemen in our university because they like the sense of leadership more than guys, as we saw. But it gives us a sense of confidence, and in our new political system we found that the lady has a part. So it's not like the other days, the previous what we say,
era. Yeah.
Yes. So we found that we have a part now, so we indulge in such activities so we can have a place in the field.
Right.
Yes.
Which are the specialities where you find girls quite interested in, Bassem mentioned mass communication. For specialities where you find girls quite interested in, Bassem mentioned mass communication. For gentlemen, how about
marketing?
Girls? Marketing.
Yes. Because we know how to convince people with our ideas more, and we indulge in such activities more. I like marketing more, that's why.
Right.
Yes.
They're talking about marketing, and especially for females. What are the special programs that are put in that respect, Professor?
Well, there's different types of basically marketing and different levels of marketing, and she's absolutely right, because marketing is what Egypt needs. We've got 35% of monuments in the world. We've got resources, endless resources, natural resources, and we can't really.
One of the main messages of Nile TV is marketing Egypt.
Absolutely, absolutely. So she's absolutely right in trying to develop the sense of marketing and of Egypt and its resources and its youth to basically attract more investment, attract partnership, and basically be part of the development of this country. Basically, they learn about electronic marketing, they learn about advanced marketing, they learn about basically public relations and different types of subjects and curriculums that basically develop their sense and their ability to market their own projects and be part of a bigger picture. And definitely they are very successful in that. And we've seen that in the Sharm el-Sheikh, the economic conference, where President Sisi really invited a lot of youth, because they're very well organized, able to market the country and present it in a very positive image. And definitely this is what they need to focus on in the next few years, is the marketing aspect, definitely.
Right. The country's gain of, extending also a hand of help and engagement for the youth who are abroad, We had just the parliamentary elections, the latest step in Egypt's roadmap, and we've seen how expats voting really made a difference, and youth participation in that respect. Did you have any sort of connections with youth abroad, and what did they tell you about such experiences?
To youth abroad, elections are very critical for decision making. Each community interacts with its own people through the elections. They decide who to choose and on what basis, and what he is willing to give them to choose him. Of course, elections do represent a vital point, and it is just to choose who are going to pass through the next few years.
Right. Many programs that the youth are engaged in today for a better future for the country. We see youth and investment, youth and development. Which is the program that you feel needs much more engagement on behalf of the youth, because of its importance, because of its maybe because it's timely, in your opinion?
In my opinion, youth and investment, It's the much program that we need to concentrate on, since youth are more interested in such programs nowadays, and they are better motivated since they feel better sense of security, thanks to our president.
Right. Well, Dr. Mehna, she's talking about more than one point, which is quite effective. talking about self-confidence and talking about marketing and also talking about investment. And today we're talking about investment in the youth at large. So working on more than one axis, what do you think Egypt's youth need today?
They need to be fully aware of their own history. They need to be fully aware of the conspiracy on Egypt that is led by a number of
terrorist elements,
organizations and individuals inside and outside, and this is what we're trying to do now, because it's very important to be aware, and they need to be aware of the social networks and how they use it. Very important, because
so that
a lot of them
no one would exploit them, no organization.
They need to know about how to use the different social networks and how to get involved in discussions and chats, and what type of information you can mention, what type of information you have to basically protect, because social networks are all led in the United States, absolutely, and they're all connected to the intelligence organizations, and we need to be very careful on that. This is part of the development programs that we're doing, and the culture awareness. Part of what we develop them on as well is the amount of natural resources that Egypt includes, and the different challenges that Egypt faces, and how they can be part of developing Egypt in the next 10 to 15 years.
Well, many initiatives also in schools, Doctor, not only for university graduates, but the youth should be prepared also in schools.
Part of the program, we go to universities, particularly at this time, we're looking at secondary school schools, you know, age 15 to 18, also spreading the word about explaining to them basically the different development projects that the government is pursuing, explaining to them about social networks and the danger that they can put themselves in, and their families and the country at large, to basically be aware and be part of the bigger picture. So definitely there is no more exclusion to the youth, whatever age they are in, they can have a great idea. And we always hear about, you know, kids 6 and 7 years of age, they can invent new things that can really create a scientific revolution in any country. So definitely there is a lot to learn. Number one is the awareness of their country, awareness of their resources, and how to get involved in building country and putting it on a right level and right page in the 21st century, basically in the next few years.
Right. This leads us also to talking, since we're talking about youth and investment, we're talking also about vocational training.
Yeah. Definitely vocational training. We've seen President Sisi since the election. He focuses very much on vocational training, and we've seen that very important in Europe. I think part of our culture that we like higher education, but the world has changed, and now vocational training is basically what drives countries, and we've got a lot of industries that almost disappeared because of the lack of continuity in vocational training for youth. Part of the development project that in the education field at large, the kid from the beginning, you know, 6 to 12 years of age, will be monitored to see where he can fit in the right direction, whether it's theoretical education or scientific, or can be vocational. And this is part of the decision why the vocational training ministry went back to the actual main Ministry of Education. So vocational training is what Egypt needs. We need at least about 12 million vocational people in different industries, and basically we can retain a lot of industries that gave Egypt the competitive advantage at some point, particularly in the 60s and 70s, exporting to the rest of the world a lot of unique Egyptian stuff, and they almost disappeared. So definitely it is important, and I think with the development of the Suez Canal corridor, the Golden Triangle, the nuclear power station, we will see a lot of initiatives and programs to enforce education, vocational training into youth, and convince them that this is the right way to go, because part of it is actually understanding of the benefit of vocational training.
Well, Merry Christmas will be going right now live for a short break to Bethlehem Cathedral, where we're going to bring you right now the beat there at Bethlehem Cathedral, ushering into the whole world a Merry Christmas for the whole world. And we here on Nile TV International are extending our best wishes for our dear viewers celebrating Christmas. Well, back to our topic of discussion, Dr. Mehana, and we're talking about engaging the youth. The youth themselves talked about investment, about self-confidence, about other qualifications that will really help them market Egypt and also work on themselves. How to engage them socially? I mean, we do have other social challenges that they need to feel the beat of, like, for instance, the cases of street children, how to help them, how to extend the help, because this is also a sense of belonging to their community.
Absolutely. Part of the topics we covered in the actual awareness programs, it basically is how to be part of a society, not just a member of society, be part of it. Your initiatives must be for the benefit of society, and one of the areas that we really having a problem with in Egypt are the street kids. Part of the training program, we encourage them to basically see whatever they can do and volunteer. So we're trying to raise the culture of volunteerism, basically part of being part of your society, whatever you can do to help street kids, whatever you can do to orphan kids, whatever you can do for the kids that are basically poor or needy. But you described it in a nice sentence in the beginning, is a sense of belonging. This is what the youth need at this point. And if you go back to January 25th revolution, is basically Egypt has returned. So they looked at the return of Egypt to them, and this is what they need. So, and I think this is the approach that President Sisi is taking, and the government behind him is to make the youth part of a bigger picture, part of the decision making, and this is the right way for
the picture is actually going to be further optimistic with their presence and with their sharing and with their participation. Professor Dr. Ahmed Mehna, Professor of Political Economy, thank you so much for your contribution tonight. I really thank representatives for the youth programs with me on the Daily Debate live tonight, Basim Sayed and Nahla Khaled. Thank you so much for coming, and best of luck and success in your courses and also in this semester. Sure. We wish you all the best of luck and success. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we were discussing youth as the cornerstone of development and the treasure that definitely Egypt depends on for a better future, for a better tomorrow. Forward ever, Egypt, with its youth, with its army, with the people themselves who love this country and have every sense of determination to make it better. We'll meet on the Daily Debate next week. Until then, I'm Tagherit Hussein, wishing you all the best and Merry Christmas once again.
شاركتني وحاجة تفرح، مش هنمشي غير لما